Nushrat Barucha, thank you so much for joining me on How I Made It. You really made it
I
to this interview after me chasing you for quite some time.
You had to start with that, didn't you? It's exactly how I know Vicky. Tell me.
Well, thank you. Once again, you are at Hoshangabad.
Yes,
Uh, in fact, not precisely there, in a village near
a little far
Hoshangabad,
away, yeah, a little far
shooting
away,
away
yeah,
for your upcoming film Chori. Taking
yeah.
time to speak to us from that shoot. Let's start
Yes,
from the day when
huh.
you first thought that I should become an actress. What was the response at home? Your mother and father must have objected, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you were a student who was bright but was distracted. What was the distraction about? Was it
You
that
don't
you
want to
were,
tell
what
people
is,
how
was
you
it
know
that you
that?
were so, was it that you were so, drawn towards this whole arc lights and all?
No, when I was studying, I had no ambition or intention or even thought that I wanted to become an actor. I, in fact, shied away from being in the spotlight. I didn't like being center of stage. I liked being backstage. I didn't like being center of attention in a room. I didn't like being center of frame in a photograph. So anytime people would take photographs, I'd probably be standing on the side, or I'll probably say that, hi, why don't you just cut me out of the picture and you all take a picture or something. I don't know. I think I was always a little shy while growing up. So being in the spotlight and being an actor never really occurred to me as something I wanted to do from within me. I was just cast for something very early on in life. There were a couple of ads that I got cast for, which I felt was I thought I would never happen. I thought people really struggle and they really do too many auditions and they train so much to get to being in an ad also. But it just happened to me, and because it happened, I kept doing it, and I think that somewhere started showing me and opening my vision up to what all there is out there to do. एंड वो ऑन द जॉब आई काइंड ऑफ फेल इन लव विद इट यार वो करते करते मुझे वो आर्ट से what all it has in terms of options and creative space. And I mean, it's a whole new world, and I didn't know that till I actually didn't do it. So that's how my love affair with it started.
And your parents objected to your love affair?
I mean, my dad has done theater, which he did a few plays in Prithvi,
Hmm.
and he's somebody who loves acting. He loves watching plays. He loves watching performances. He's very inclined towards this form of theater and films, and he just loves it. So because he's the audience that loves this, he kind of took mom and me for a lot of plays. He kind of pushed me to do a few plays if I wanted to do some. He said you should do a play at Prithvi, join a group, do some rehearsals, do some workshops. I remember they put me in some workshop right after I finished school also for like the summer vacation workshop. At the end of that, we did a play also, which was just a fun kids play. I mean, nothing commercial out of it. But he liked putting me in those places, and he liked putting me there and seeing if I kind of take to it.
Hmm.
So there wasn't a lot of sort of I don't know, negation or objection from my dad as much as there was from maybe my other extended family. Not really very कि ये नहीं करना चाहिए या ये गलत है, but from the point of view of इसमें future क्या है? How can you make this a career? My whole family, I mean, everybody is very well educated, and they have one is an architect, one is a financial consultant, one is a doctor. Actually, quite a few are doctors. One is a lawyer. So I feel like we're a bunch of people who are very aware of which path to take, and kids should be kind of given that sort of you know uh, upbringing and culture to pick a good career, and have a nice strong career ahead. So they didn't think acting for me as a career was something which was lucrative or something which was sure. I mean, it was very unpredictable. So he said, how can you make this a career?
Hmm.
You can do it as a hobby, but it can't be your bread and butter. And I said, why not? So I think that was the only conflict I went through. Because every time I did a film, they would think कि अच्छा इसका तो मन था इसने एक पिक्चर कर ली अब छोड़ देगी. So it was almost like एक हो गई, चलो okay. मन पूरा हो गया तेरा. अब let's look at what do you want to study, which course you want to take. I mean, I had my brother telling me, do you want to go abroad and take up something? Why don't you kind of their main objective is, why don't you get another skill set where in case films and careers don't take off, which happens to a lot of actors, then what else would you do is what they came from. So that was mainly, I think, the only objection that there was this, that in case you don't make it, if you're not successful, then what are you going to do? You've not studied anything else. You took acting and then you kept doing films. But touch wood, I'm here. Thank God I made it. So I'm glad.
Beauty pageants was one route you could have taken, and going further becomes slightly easier if you do well in that. Didn't it strike you?
Even if it could have struck me, I wouldn't have qualified for it. You need a certain height for it, which I don't have. So I'm sure I would have been rejected on application only. So no, it didn't occur to me, because I really thought that you need to be tall, and that's one of the requirements that you have to be in a beauty pageant. And I was a very petite, short, very like chota bacha type back then. So I was just like, mujhe kaun lega beauty show mein? So I didn't try. No, I never tried.
Okay. So no beauty pageant, slight resistance from the.
And to be honest, I didn't think I was beauty pageant beautiful. I mean, you have to be really beautiful to be in a beauty pageant, right? I felt that I was a very average, normal, sweet girl next door kind of person. I was like, I can't look like that. I mean, how do you look like that? So it didn't seem like it could have gone my way. So I didn't do it.
So as I was saying, no beauty pageant, slight resistance from extended family.
Yeah.
But top of all this, you were an outsider. You were not coming from a star's family. You were not related even remotely to any big actor or friendly. How tough it was as a consequence?
Vicky, I've always had a very holistic kind of view on this question of being an outsider or an insider. I feel everybody has their own path, they have their own destiny, and they have their own struggle. Does things become easier or more difficult? True, but that can happen in anyone's case. It can get difficult and tougher even for an insider, and it could be totally amazing even for an outsider. You never know. They say that this industry is pure magic, and a lot of it is also your luck, which I don't take away, because yes, I feel that it is, some people are destined to be what they are to be, and they're destined to have that rise, and they're destined to have that fall equally. You can't take that away. And that's why I feel like if I had those hurdles and if I had those struggles, they were meant to be mine. I can't blame them on the fact that I was an outsider, or that, okay, maybe if I was an insider, I would not have had those. Who knows? Maybe if I was an insider, I would have probably had a bigger struggle. I don't know. Maybe the fact that I was an outsider, people were able to, give me more opportunities because they probably felt like they should help me. I don't know. I don't know which way the path kind of falls right for you and how it happens. But I truly believe that everybody has their own struggle. And mine was what it was. I didn't get bogged down by it. I kind of worked harder. I jumped through those hurdles faster and higher, and reached the other side, I guess.
Take me through that struggle, Nusrat, a little more in detail. Through the auditions, which must have been accompanied by a few rejections, I'm sure. And
all rejections. I was rejected, I think, almost every day at every audition I went to, and I almost felt like I don't fit the bill. I don't know what it was back then, actually, Vicky. I didn't have anybody guiding me to tell me that this is how you should approach it and this is how you should go. And maybe I didn't even have a portfolio of pictures. So that's the first thing they ask you when you go to meet anybody, whether you go to an office or you go to an audition. They ask you for your recent pictures. I didn't even have anyone to click pictures. I was that not trained for this. So I would say, why don't you just click my picture now and use that? And they said, no, we need the properly professionally shot pictures. And I said, don't have them. So I always felt that I probably didn't belong in this certain pattern of casting or the certain pattern of going through auditions. I didn't know what the steps were, and I definitely didn't take those steps. So I purely depended on what I did in front of the camera. I felt like, okay, why don't you just take an audition? Let me see what I can do. And if you like that, then you have my number. You can reach me, call me back. I don't have pictures. So I faced, I think, a lot. And there were a few auditions where I didn't even get ready. I would just wear jeans and Osho chappals and a t-shirt and my glasses and go. And I didn't know that you had to dress for the part. Like if they said, okay, this is the character, then you have to dress for the character. I thought people already visualize all that. When they do a test, they've called you and they can visualize you in that character. All they need to see is whether you can act it. I didn't think you needed to dress the part and you needed to kind of do other things to kind of, go for a test. I mean, the makeup, the hair, the clothes. I didn't think you had to do all that. So I went normally for a lot of auditions, and some people didn't even know I was there to audition. I mean, sometimes I would be told, yeah, what are you here for? And I was like, to audition. And they were like, in that? You're wearing that for that audition? And I was just like, oh, I'm supposed to dress up. Then I had to revamp myself, and I went and I called my girlfriends and I said, guys, take me shopping because apparently I need to dress up and I don't have dresses. So they took me shopping, and then I learned how to do makeup at home, and I did something with my hair. And then a whole new round of auditions I went to dressed up. And there I felt a whole new wave of confidence that now I'm doing exactly what everybody else is doing, which is dressing up, looking pretty, and going for auditions. And on top of that, if I can do a good audition, I mean, I guess I can act as well then. But I did a whole bunch of that and I still got rejected. So I was just like, okay, what is it that is going to work? How am I going to get this part? What do I do? So I could never understand it. And honestly, till date, there is no formula to it. You will not know what you get cast for, why, and you will not know what you get rejected for and why. The 2-3 ads I got selected for then paid me great money. And I was just like, how did I get selected for this? Because I didn't think I would, but I did. So there is really no way of knowing who's sitting behind that camera and who's seeing your audition and who sees what and says, that's the girl I want. Like there's never knowing. So that.
What you're saying is there's no formula. But वो कौन सी फ्लैश पॉइंट थी जहां पर किसी फिल्म मेकर ने आपसे कहा कि this is the film, and you also felt yes after its release that okay, now I'm here?
LSD, hands down. Love, Sex and Dhokha. Love, Sex and Dhokha for me in a lot of ways kind of cemented my own faith in myself, kind of opened a whole new viewpoint for me as an actor, where I fell in love with the art form of acting and the art form of making a film, where it's not just a fictional story, which is a romantic affair, but we have hard-hitting stories of honor killing, and we have a hard-hitting story of leaked footage of a girl who just made love to somebody she loved, and somebody who was, a journalist and who did like a khulasa type thing on somebody who was exploiting some other actors and artists. It just seemed like there is so much more you can say and do through this, that I felt like, hi, this is not just about the glitz, the glamour, the money, or this pretty picture that we're used to seeing in films. There's a lot more you can do, and a lot more that kind of stirs my, consciousness, soul, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, or passion. I mean, I knew, I think, right at that point when I did LSD, is that I want to do this now. This is the path that I'm going to take for myself. And if I get to tell stories like this, even better. I'm totally for it. But this is what I want to do.
Who
And
was
yeah,
that
then
person? I mean, did the producer choose you? Did the director choose you?
in LSD, it was Atul Mongia, who was the casting director and also the creative sort of director of the film, like performance supervisor. He's the one who took my audition, and I didn't get selected on audition. They selected somebody else. That girl didn't do the film eventually. I don't know, dates or something. And then they went back to audition tapes, and the point was to see now who is going to be who can now be cast, like who should we kind of now take for this part, because the main girl that they wanted didn't work. It was this casting director Atul Mongia who said, I really this girl is very raw, and that's what we need. We need somebody who's not trained, who's not an actor, and doesn't know what to do. And doesn't know what to do is what we need to capture about that character in this film, because that's what she is. She doesn't know what to do. She fell in love with a low caste, and she thinks her father will accept it because her father loves her, and she runs away and gets married to him, just be killed in the end. So they wanted that person to not kind of know anything, and they wanted a person who didn't know where the camera is and what camera meant and what acting meant. And I think he saw something in me which nobody else in that film kind of saw in the first round of audition. And he called me back and he said, why don't you come and do a few workshops with us for a few days? And that's what I did. I did workshops with the whole gang for about 5-6 days. And then finally, at the end of the 6th day, they said, okay, you're doing the film. So I was like, oh, yay, that happened.
Take me through the first meeting you had with the LSD producer and the director.
I actually didn't meet Dibakar for very long because so Dibakar was shooting the 3 stories in 3 different schedules. So he was starting the other stories first, and he didn't need to meet me and the boy in my story. So he didn't meet us. We were only workshopping with Atul, and he would see the whole day's workshop would be recorded, like whatever scenes we did, improvised. So Dibakar would only see the footage at the end of the day and then come back and tell us points of what he wants us to improve. And Atul would next day tell us, this is what we need to change. So I didn't meet him for very long. When I met Priya, who was a producer, and she's the person I met, she was also somebody who was very instrumental in casting me and kind of making it work for me, because I think she liked me. I think that was it. Priya just was fond of me. And she said, you know what, I want to make this work for this girl because she tested well and she's doing a good job. And my dates were stuck somewhere, so she was trying to figure that out. And she did figure it out. And I think my fondness for her from that day till now is just the same. I feel like she had my back. She kind of fought for me and got that film locked for me. And that was Priya for me. I love her even now. Dibakar, I remember then meeting on the last day of my workshops, where he was about to start shooting the next day for the other story, and he just came to see what we had done, like me and Atul and Anshuman. And he sat at one end of the room, and we were standing in front of him, and Atul was sitting next to him. And he just said, okay, let's do these scenes. And we started doing the scenes, and then he would keep cutting, no, cut, start again. Now do it this way. Now do it that way. Now, and he kept asking us to do the same scene in different ways. And then he would stop, think, and then he would tell Atul, okay, lock this. Means the way they did this scene with this emotion is exactly how I want to do the scene when we come on floors. So you remember to tell them that that's how they have to perform it. So we would lock every scene, and मैं उसको सुर बोलती हूँ, एक scene का सुर होता है, which is just basically the emotion with which the scene starts and the emotion with which you have to carry it, which is of course different from every scene. So he set every scene's emotion for us, and that's it. Then I met him straight on set. So I actually had very little interaction with Dibakar. I don't know how, but yeah.
Your first meeting with Ekta, who was the main producer there?
I met Ekta at the success party of LSD.
And then she cast you in Dream Girl also.
That was years later though. Yeah. But I met Ekta at LSD success party when it became a huge hit. And she was so happy with us, and she was so loving and open, and she's partied with all of us till like 6 in the morning. We've all had a blast at her house. It didn't feel like we were just new kids on the block, and she was Ekta Kapoor, the producer. It felt like we were just a thing. We were all a part of one whole huge team, and it was. I remember that party very well. Actually, exactly what I was wearing to what everybody else was wearing, and how we danced and what we did. That party in is, I think, my one of my oldest and the most uh, path-breaking memories I'll ever have, because I met everybody at that party, from Vishal Bhardwaj to Abhishek Chaubey to Anurag Kashyap to Imtiaz Ali to everybody was at that party, and I was a child. I was just like, oh my god, I only like hear of these directors, and they're all here. They're in Ekta Kapoor's house partying, and they've all seen my movie, and they're all telling us outstanding things about our performances. And I was like, am I really here? Like, is this really happening to me in the first film that I'm doing? It was overwhelming to another completely different level. I'll never forget that. Never ever forget that.
During
Yeah.
this entire journey, which movie do you think is your best one? If I was to ask you to put your hand on one so far.
Performance-wise?
Yeah. Or even otherwise, I mean, if the commercial success excited you, I don't know what are your parameters at this point of time.
No. So I think performance-wise, that's actually my parameter. Would be Akashvani. It was one of the films that I have. I felt like I did things I didn't think I would ever be able to do. I put myself through certain emotions I didn't think I would ever be able to, and I really put myself in that shell. It took me a while to become Vani, and it took me a while to get out of Vani, because it was a very hard film for me. And I was very emotionally invested in it. So for me, in terms of performance, I think Akashvani is one of my most favorite and remembered. But if you ask me in terms of a film, like what the whole film kind of stood for and what it was, then I would say LSD. So that's the comparison. I mean, I was too young in LSD to kind of tell you it was the best performance, because really I wasn't performing. I was just being. I had just become this one young girl who was in love with this boy, said a few lines, and then the camera and the director did everything. I was just too young to say that, I was doing an outstanding performance. I don't believe it. I mean, I just feel like मैंने कुछ किया तो नहीं. You know what I'm saying? It became so. It was so much about what the film was and what we were trying to say, than an individual performance credit. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah, Vicky. Yeah, somewhere. So that's where LSD is important to me, and I hold it close to me. But purely on performance, for me, is Akashvani. So yeah.
I've been asking you at every point 2 or 3 questions together. Once again, 2. And the first one is that whenever I have spoken to you, I have always felt that you feel that the industry has not yet given you your due. You're capable of more. I feel that way. And the second question which I want to ask you here, doubling this, is that do you regret missing out on Slumdog Millionaire, for which you were shortlisted and very close to getting it?
So I'll answer the second question first. Of course, I regret it. Of course, I wish I was cast in it. And there is no actor who can give you another answer than this, because, I mean, everybody wants to do those films. Everybody wants to do great work. And if a great film, which you knew would have kind of been great for you, becomes even bigger than what you expected or dreamt of course, you'd wish you'd been a part of it, and you wish it went your way, and it didn't. But that's where I come to. I can't regret it, because it was not in my destiny. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not like I didn't do a good test. It's not like I would not have been able to be a part of that film. It was just not in my destiny. I did everything every other actor did to be a part of that film. But it wasn't meant for me, and it didn't happen. Do I wish that it did? Of course I wish that I did. I wish that, I'd looked the parts that they wanted me to look, and I wish it had gone my way. I genuinely do, but well, it didn't, so it's fine. Now, whether the industry gave me my due or whether it didn't, I don't think an industry is responsible purely for me getting my due, which I feel is a very generic sort of statement that's made. But there is a deeper reality and truth to it, Vicky. I think I'll tell you what my sort of complaint is. It's not that the industry is not giving my due. My complaint is that I'm not given the roles and the films where I play different characters. Because I've been doing a certain section of films, which is rom-coms, people just feel that that's all I can do, which is not true. I feel like an actor's job is to be versatile. An actor's basic prerequisite of being an actor is to be able to do different roles. How can I be an actor if I do only one role? Like, how does that make any sense? So I feel like people should kind of break their mind and their vision and try and cast people in different kind of roles. Trust the actor with a completely different role and a completely different world, and see if they're talented enough to transform or not, whether they're putting in that kind of effort and work. And every actor does it. Like, I feel like if you are in this industry, they want everybody's attempt is to do something they've not done before, to do different characters, to different roles, and to push themselves as artists. And that's all I want, is to be able to push myself as an artist. I just want the opportunity to be able to do that. And that's what I don't get. That's the only complaint, really. It's not that I've not got the due. My films are doing well. People want to cast me in certain kind of films. But there's always somewhere you want to go. And there's always somewhere else people are taking you. So you're always going to be like, यार मुझे उधर नहीं, मुझे इधर जाना है. तो वो constant
conflict,
back and forth होता है. हाँ, conflict होता ही है. What do you do? Then you're basically stuck with, well, should I do this or should I not do this at all? What do I do then? Should I not do a film just because the ones I want to do are not like my way? You know what I'm trying to say? So it's a catch-22, and that's what it means when it's said that you don't get the due, because by the time you get those films, it takes a little while. But that doesn't mean the industry is not given it. It's just that that's how it works. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Then you must have said no to a few films within that conflict.
Of course.
They must have gone on to become big hits. And did you regret?
No film I have said no to till date I have regretted. And even if they became great hits, I have not regretted, oh shit, I should have done it. No. There was something about the film that didn't work for me. So whether it became a big blockbuster or not was irrelevant to me. It didn't work for me. Simple. The business of it has actually never affected my decision, and the business of it will never affect my decision. And therefore, I don't regret the films I said no to. No. So I mean, if I want to do a film and I can't do it, then I would regret it. That I really want to do this, but because of, I don't know, dates or schedules or something not matching, I had to let it go. That I would regret, because then it meant that I wanted to do it and I couldn't do it. But if I said no to a film, which means I didn't want to do it, then उस film का जो भी होगा वो सबकी अलग destiny, but मुझे नहीं करनी थी, and I'm very happy with my choice of it. Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, you can ask the next question now.
So you have worked with brilliant actors in the recent past, Ayushmann, Rajkumar Rao. You said rom-coms ज़्यादा मिल रहे हैं. So it just strikes me to ask you that imagine you getting an offer with a very big hero, say that one of the top 5 in terms of commercial success. You're talking about commercial superstars. Would you say yes to a rom-com then? Would you say yes to maybe just 2 songs there and 2 scenes there?
You know, I've already done a film which is Dream Girl, where I actually had 4 scenes and 2 songs. So the answer is already here, that I did do it. Would I do it again? Completely depends on what the film is and what the script is. For example, when I sat for Dream Girl's narration, I thought it was really funny. I genuinely enjoyed that 1 hour sitting in that office where I was cracking up on every joke that Raj was kind of reading out from the script. And I was like, this is the laugh riot. I want to be part of this. And that's it. My decision kind of ended there. If there is a film that is amazing and I want to be a part of, but my part is really small, but I actually want to be an integral part of it, I probably said yes to it. I have an example of that. There's a film called Kapoor and Sons that came out, right? Where it was about one family, but Alia Bhatt had only that much, right? If Alia Bhatt can do a film like that, where she is a leading lady and does great films because she loved the film. And she said, it's okay if I have just that. I want to be part of that. And it's not just about Alia. I mean, if you look at Hollywood films, there are actors that do smaller parts in films, and you don't even know there was this one who came and did the part, and Brad Pitt came, did 2 scenes, and went, and you're like, what? But they want to be part of that film, and that choice of why they want to be part of the film is so personal, and it's so about you and your own sort of this thing that you really can't. I really can't tell you whether I would do that in the future or would not do that in the future. I think it all depends on what that is going to be. So yeah.
Happy with Chalang? The reviews it got, the feedback you got?
Very happy. Very happy with Chalang. Very happy with Chalang. Actually, when we started to make that film, all of us, whether it was Hansal sir, Raj, Love sir, the writers, the other actors, we were all very, very synced as to which film we are making and what we are making. By the time it reached audiences, I mean, audiences would know, but we knew from day one. And I just felt like we were all so sure that this is what we were doing, and this is what we did. We made a simple, sweet film which talked about children, which talked about certain physical education, the importance of it, talked about being better teachers or just teachers who are inspirational that can really kind of mold a child's mind when it needs to be. And for us, that was exactly what we needed to achieve, and we did.
You had one controversy.
Very happy with this.
You had one controversy. My concluding question during this entire career.
Is it a concluding question?
Well, if something doesn't follow to what you say, the green pelvis controversy got titled as the high slit dress you wore at the Filmfare
Green
Awards.
What? Oh, my gown.
And then you know what happens on internet, what happens on Twitter. How did you handle that? And क्या था? क्या चल रहा था? घर पर क्या चल रहा था?
There was nothing to handle, Vicky. I mean, the controversy was in the minds of people reading it, and the controversy was in minds of the media and my fans. But for me and at my house, there was nothing. It was just normal. I think my parents have over time understood and accepted who I am, and they know who I am, and that kind of faith of just knowing each other takes all these other controversies that people think will come about away completely. That dress was not something I wore one-off at an award function. I have been in shorts and t-shirts all my life. I've been on holidays where I would wear a swimming costume when I go into the beach, which is a bikini, which is normal. So because there is normalcy about just how we are in my family, my entire house, my culture, we're normal about these things. My mom on a holiday would wear a swimming costume and get into the beach. You know what I'm trying to say? And there's nothing wrong with it. So because we are normal with it, that outfit for my mom and my dad was normal. It's a fashion outfit, which the designer has got, and I'm wearing it and I'm going. Of course, it was my mother who was kind of helping me get into the outfit, and she was like, is that where this slit is supposed to be? And I'm like, yeah. So of course she asked me, but it was normal. There was no controversy at all. I remember my sister, my bhabhi actually, in another city, posted the picture. So the picture came in some paper and was, I think, the headlines of some paper. And so she posted a picture of that on a family group. That's how normal my family is. So even if there were certain family members who probably missed that outfit, everybody knew that outfit because now it's on a family group. So every family member everywhere has seen that picture of mine and knows that I was wearing that outfit. And actually, nobody said anything. I mean, even if they thought, okay, they didn't tell me anything. So I don't know. I had fun. I wore that outfit. I loved it. I didn't even read the comments below my Insta or Twitter. I needed to post pictures for the designer. I posted pictures, and I moved on to the next outfit and the next day and the next event, and that was it.
Thank you, Nusrat. Thank you so much. But before you leave, I must ask
You're
you. In fact, I've forgotten to
very
ask you. What
welcome.
is this
Hmm.
double R, double T, double C का addition in your name? ये क्या है ये? Numerology
uh,
क्या चल रहा है?
yeah, हाँ, न्यूमरोलॉजी है, एस्ट्रोलॉजी है, आपको जो मतलब whatever it's actually called for people to kind of relate to it or believe in it. But I believe in energies a lot. I believe in stars and planets and luck and timing and destiny and a larger sort of path that is already predestined for a person a lot. I genuinely do believe that. So when somebody tells me that, hi, you know what, it's the time has come now for you to kind of align your stars with the right sort of numbers and the right sort of rise, if there is a rise. I mean, hoping there is a rise. Then this is the time for it. And because I met somebody who made sense about it to me, I said, cool, let's take the step, and we changed the spelling. That's about it. Just basic numerology, guys. Nothing to it. Nothing to it.
No,
So,
we are
yeah.
hopeful that you will rise further, and you have two good films coming up, Hurdang and Chori, and I don't
Yes.
see any reason
And
that you
Janhit
should
Mein
be
Jari.
stopped in your tracks.
And Janhit Mein Jari. And Janhit Mein Jari.
Yes.
Ha.
So thank
So,
you
yeah,
once
all of
again,
those.
and a big thank you to you from the entire team of E Times here.
Thank you, Vicky.